Hello everyone. Today I will be presenting our midterm progress for our capstone project in partnership with ASANTe. My name is Karthik and my teammates are Hiroma Saito and William Hinckley. In this presentation, I'll walk you through what ASANTe does, the problem space we focused on, the work completed so far, and the dashboard with the backend systems we built to support the company's business registration process. We are excited to share this because our project sits at the intersection of project design, analytics, business backend engineering, and with the social impact which it creates. So before I get into the project itself, I want to briefly introduce about ASANTe. ASANTe is a platform designed to help small businesses create real connection with their communities. At a high level, it is a purpose-driven commerce platform. Instead of seeing customer loyalty as just discounts or transactions, ASANTe is trying to build lasting associations through a community-driven digital ecosystem. The platform connects businesses with causes and nonprofits that match their values. So, if a business cares about things like advocacy, education, animal welfare, social justice, community support, or public health, Asante helps create the connection and make it visible to consumers. So this is what makes the company unique. It is not only trying to help business grow, it is helping them grow with purpose. Asante uses an AI-powered loyalty and rewards model to support its clients and help them better understand their communities. So the platform is designed to surface insights about what drives customer behavior, including values, preferences, and loyalty patterns. So consumers can discover businesses whose value align with their own, and businesses can build stronger loyalty with showing the causes they support. So the non-profit side also benefits because businesses and consumers are indirectly creating support for those causes through platform activity. The company was founded by a CU Boulder alumni in 2021 during the COVID-19 period, which was important context because many local businesses were struggling at that time. Asante's mission responds directly to that challenge by helping small businesses build stronger and more meaningful customer relationships. So, what part of the company did we focus on? The main clients most affected are local businesses and the communities around them. For our project, we focused on two core needs. The first was improving the registration process for businesses. The second was creating better visibility into that process so Asante can understand where users are getting stuck and where improvements are needed. This matters because registration is the entry point into the entire platform. So if businesses abandon the process halfway through, that is not just lost form completion. It is a lost opportunity for Asante to onboard a new business, connect it with non-profit causes, and bring it into the ecosystem. So our project centered on making the registration flow measurable, observable, and actionable. To improve the registration experience, we first needed to understand the data behind it. So we treated the registration flow not just as a series of forms, but as a measurable user journey. That means looking at things like when a visitor first arrives, how they move through each step, how long they spend on each page, whether they retry certain actions, and when they eventually drop off. Once you start looking at the process this way, it becomes possible to answer much more useful questions. For example, where are people struggling? Which step is taking too long? Are users abandoning because of friction at certain point, or is the process generally healthy? That was the foundation of everything else we built. More broadly, the goal of the data work was to support internal analytics for decision making. Asante needs a way to look at the registration journey and understand it in a structured way. So, without that, the team is left guessing why businesses leave the process before completing it. By collecting and organizing registration data properly, the company can make product decisions based on real behavior instead of assumptions. So, this stage of the project was about laying the groundwork for visibility and future optimization. The first major technical step in the project was designing and implementing a new database schema for registration analytics. The purpose of this schema was to store detailed information about visitors and their behavior throughout the registration site. In total, 8 new tables were created. This included a visitor table to track new visitors to the site, a registration session table to capture a user's journey through the 6-step registration process, a registration step event table to track timing and retry behavior at each step, an interaction event table to capture clicks, scrolls, and other interactions, and a page session context table to store device and performance information. There were also supporting reference tables for standardized value like step codes. So this way key milestones, because it transformed the registration process into something measurable. Instead of onboarding being a black box, Asante can now capture what is happening in much more structured way. This schema was important because it gave us a full way to model the registration journey instead of just storing isolated events. It lets Asante capture not only who entered the flow but also how long they stayed on each step, whether they retried actions, what kind of interactions they performed, and what technical context existed during the session. In other words, the schema turns the registration process into something the team can actually analyze. That is what makes later reporting and monitoring possible. So because without this structure, it would be very difficult to understand where businesses are struggling or why they abandon the flow. After designing the schema, the next step was to build the services layer that actually moves registration data into the backend. For this, we implemented gRPC services to track user activity across business registration flow in a structured and efficient way. The main operation includes track visitor, which records where some first lands on the registration site, and start session, which creates and ties activity to specific registration attempt, and track page navigation, which captures how users move from one step to another step over time. So we tested these services with simulated requests and confirmed that the data was being stored correctly in the analytics table. So which gave us the confidence that the tracking pipeline is working end to end. Once the schema and the gRPC layers were in place, the next major step was turning the backend data into something useful for Asante team. So which is registration flow health dashboard, which we can see here. This is an internal admin tool, not a customer facing product. So it was built to help the team monitor the registration process in real time, diagnose where users are getting stuck, and take action when needed. The main value of the dashboard is that it makes the registration flow visible and actionable. Instead of just collecting events in the backend, Asante can now see overall health and registration pipeline and respond quickly when there is a friction or drop off. Another part of our work focused on growth and outreach. The goal here was to identify potential Asante users and contact them to introduce the platform. This matters because Asante depends upon bringing in local businesses that align with its mission and values. So in here we show an example of using location based exploration to find businesses in a targeted area and start thinking about which one may be a strong fit for the platform. The idea is to move from broad outreach to more intentional outreach by identifying businesses that are active, visible, and likely to benefit from being connected with the cause driven consumers and non-profit partners. Once those potential users are identified, the next step is outreach, and this is where AI becomes useful. In this part of project, the idea is to extract relevant businesses information from sources like websites and social platforms and then use AI to generate messages that feel more natural and personalized. Instead of sending generic outreach emails, Asante can create communication that feels more specific to each business and its brand. That makes the introduction more relevant and increases the chance of getting a response. So this is really about how can AI support a smarter outreach workflow by helping Asante scale communication without making it feel robotic. So to conclude, our work with Asante focused on making the business registration process measurable and actionable. We designed the analytics schema, built the tracking pipeline, and turned the data into tools the team can usually use. So especially the dashboard and the follow-up workflow. So overall, this project is meaningful because better registration directly helps Asante bring more businesses into the platform and strengthen its mission-driven ecosystem. Thank you.